So now I'm going to shape this arm rail right here. It'll be looking like that right before I bend it. And then I'll steam it and bend it, and it'll look like this right here. And there's a lot of details that we're going to be going over on it before I even get to shaping it. So the first thing we need to know the size. So if I look at my plans here, it shows the arm rail is 13/16 by 7/8 by 59.5. Now, I'll put these to the side. So that's a green measurement, and so it's going to shrink, and then also there's going to be some cleanup after you bend it. So it's going to end up somewhere around 3/4 by 13/16 in the center cross section. Now I include my handholds. I don't glue those on, so they'll be included. So we're needing almost 2 inches down here, but it's at 7/16 there. So let's look first at the piece we're going to get it out of. So I'm not going all the way back to the log here. There's other videos showing that. But this is a piece that is going to yield two arm rails and probably some spindles out of it too, because it's more than 2 inches here. But it's about 2 inches right here. Actually, this is the narrow end. Bring this thing around. This is the narrow end right here. So it measures exactly 2 inches here, and I've got a line there. I'm going to split it right in half, and I'm wanting 7/8 in this plane. So this white oak is riving so perfect that I can split it down to 1 inch dimension and get the 7/8 out of it. It takes some pretty good riving wood to be able to do that, but this white oak will do it. Now, I want to show you, I'm going to get up the easel here and draw the bending direction that I use on this. So, because I can talk about it in the wood and on the chair, but it's hard to see the growth rings, radial plane, tangential plane, but I can draw it and you can see it. So there could be 2 ways that we could get that wood out of the log. So one way would be with the growth rings running like that, and the other way with the growth rings running like that. And it really doesn't matter. It's your choice on it. It's going to bend. Good bending wood is going to bend either way. So there's other reasons why you might choose one over the other. So I use this one right here. And so what's going to end up happening, so this would be your radial plane and this would be your tangential plane. So what's going to end up happening is that there's my arm rail. It's going to be coming out of the log right like that. Okay? So your elbow bend is going to be back against the ray plane like that. And this cross section right here then will be like that D-shaped cross section right there. And so you'll be bending in the tangential plane that way. So one of the advantages that I like is that you've got on your handhold where you like this, then you'll be looking at the ray plane if you bend it right like that. And when I paint it, I like the look of that better than the tangential. It has more action to it. It's also more stable. The tangential plane could check with you, although this is relieving a lot of that stress right there, cutting that off in that plane. So, I mean, and then you've got the joinery issue. So where the spindle is coming up through the back like that, you've got twice the movement this way as you would this way, which probably wouldn't be as advantageous for the joint as if it was turned 90. So in that respect, this would be better for the back of the chair. But down here in the handhold, you see, you get the opposite. All of these are little things, and really you just decide which way you're going to bend it. But this is the way that I'm going to rive it out, and then shape it from there and bend it. Okay, so this is going to be the 7/8 green plane, 13/16 finish plane, and that's the one that you're drilling through. And this is going to be 13/16 green and 3/4 whenever you finish with it. Then you've also got this cutout right here where you bring this arm section down to 7/16 for this elbow bend, and that's shown on the plans just in the side view, the perspective of the chair. And right here it is. It's 15 inches from there to right there, and you curve down fairly abruptly and then carry your 7/16 all the way out. And then I end up beveling this right here, and when I'm shaping one for you, we'll get a close-up of this bevel so you can see exactly how I do that. So I'm going to take the split piece out to the riving brake and split it in half, and then we'll start shaping the arm rail. So I'm out here at my riving brake, and the riving brake can be, you know, anything that just holds a piece of wood. So you can look up all kinds of these things, but this is the one. This is one that I use, and I'm going to try to split this in half to get two backs out of it. So you can maybe see that I've got a weak side right up here. Strong side's down here. So the weak side's up. I'm going to put pressure on the strong side so I don't lose that top back. So now if you can see clear enough, the run's back to the center of the piece, which now I'll let up. And I'm also letting the fro tell me which is the weak side too, because I can get feedback off of it. And now I think I need to flip it over, and of course now you can't see anything because the bark's over there. So I don't need to flip it back over, but I'm just going to do that just so you can see that the run's right in the center now. And there we go. So now I have two really nice continuous arm backs out of it, so we'll go back inside. So my first step in shaping this arm rail right here is to get the bark off. And the bark's been lying around rolling around in the log yard, and it's gotten dirty, it's got dirt in it, it's going to dull your draw knife, and you're going to spend all this time sharpening it and then stick it straight into dirt. So you don't want to do that. So I'm going to get the bark off. You could saw it off with the bandsaw. You could hew it off with an axe, which I don't do much anymore because of my tendonitis. And you can take it off with a draw knife. Now, like I said, it's going to dull your draw knife. So what I use is a draw knife that's already dull, that I need to sharpen. And so I've got one here. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in the vise. So the shaving horse, to me, is the best way to hold a piece working with a draw knife most of the time, but not all the time. So in this right here, just works out good in a vise. So even though my knife needs sharpening, I don't need to trash it any further. So I'm going to cut straight through that bark and get underneath it, right like that. I'm right at where the cambium layer is, the layer right in between the wood and the bark. I'm dead on it, so I'm perfectly straight right here. And I could use this as my straight edge. So this arm rail could come out of here right like that if I would choose. That would mean that this whole section would be this sapwood. But this is a good fresh log, and that sapwood is white and creamy and in really good shape. So I'll make that decision when I get on the shaving horse. So first thing is I'll flatten out this radial plane here with the draw knife. But looking at it real close, all I need is 2 inches for that handhold to get that handhold out of this section. And this thing's 3 inches wide, which means that I'll be working an extra inch with the draw knife. So I could do that. I could rive off 1 inch out here, which is a little bit tricky to do because when you're riving, it's always better if you do it in half, but you can break that rule or bend it. Or the other is you could bandsaw off 1 inch. And I hate to saw. That's like my last resort is to do that. So I'm going to split off 1 inch first before we get started. So anyway, so I've got it marked at 1 inch right there. So I'm going to try to rive off that section. Now, one thing I don't want to do is have it run this way, which it's less likely to do that. It'll want to run to the weak side. So I've got the 2 inch marked down there so I can just monitor it. And I might even flip it over and come from that side if this one starts to rive out, run out. So I got my little fro here. And to keep it from running out, I'm going to put a lot of pressure on this side. See, I can't bend this, which you typically would do, because it's too stiff. But I can strengthen this side and try to keep it from running out. So there we go. But it's doing okay. I'm going to go from that other side now. Where did I put my mark right there? There we go. So I can get a couple of spindles out of that, and then this is going to be much easier to shape with the draw knife. So let's go back inside the shaving horse now. So I've got it with the ray plane up, and that's what I'll be flattening out first. Now, on this piece is like just about perfect the way that it split out. Yours might not be. So it could be kind of wedge shape. So you're going to choose whichever side. I usually choose whichever side is kind of perpendicular to the growth rings, just for ease of start. It really doesn't matter. But that's what side I would usually start with. And also, this split out just about so perfect with those long wood fibers that I don't have to do a lot of work to keep it in the plane of the long wood fibers. And that's the key here, is following those long wood fibers perfectly. You'll be able to cut this way, you'll be able to cut that way. And so the draw knife will tell you that. So I can just barely engage the draw knife, and just from the feedback the draw knife's given me, I can tell if it's following those long wood fibers or not. So I've created a little trough here. So I should be below the surface all the way down through here and all the way there. Might not be. It might have run out a little bit on one side or the other, but I doubt it. So I think I'm probably low enough right here to start bringing all of this down to this level. And since I'm cutting such a wide piece here, I can cut with I'll cut with a skewing action and a slicing action to make it a lot easier. I don't have to put so much power into it. So you might be able to pick up that sound. It's cutting here really nice and smooth, and then as it hits these wood fibers that are built up some, you might hear a little bit of a splitting sound. And that means that I've got to, hear that? Means I have to take off some material. Now, I can go back, and the draw knife is pretty sharp. I can barely engage it. And as it picks up small bits of fiber, if there is long wood fibers built up in front of it, it'll pick it up and dive down. And so that's what I'm paying attention to. But it's cutting it perfectly fine. Now, of course, I could be going downhill right there, but I'm probably not. But I can check it by going back in the other direction. Okay, so I'm gonna check it over one time. See, the draw knife's not picking up anything, so a little bit right there, just at least a little bit. Okay, so it looks like I'm all in one plane from there out. So I'll flip it over. And the reason you take so much pains here, this is the most important cut that you're going to have on the whole back, because everything else is going to follow it. And if it's not right, two things will happen. One is the workability won't be as good. So when you flip it over, it's going to tear out going in one direction or the other direction. And two, it might not bend as well because you're going to have a little bit of grain run out. So as I engage the knife, there it goes. That's how much wood fibers are built up back here in front of it. And it told me that. So just letting the knife tell you what's going on. When it quits the splitting sound and the knife quits grabbing, diving down, you're probably straight. So now I'm going to go all the way back to here and just check this length out. Make sure, because remember I checked it out that way when I had it turned around. And now check it out this way. So notice the little fibers that I'm picking up. Okay, so I'm not looking for straight. I'm looking for straight wood fibers. If you sight down the piece, well, this piece is unusual. This looks like it's been sawn and run through a planer. But most of the time they'll have slight bows or twists to them. And your draw knife's going to follow those. And that's what's kind of difficult to learn, but real important. Now I've got one side, I need another side. And so I could start, like I said, when I took the bark off, I could start right on this side where I took the bark off, because you can't get any straighter than that. But one, you got to make sure that your sapwood is good, and it needs to be white and creamy. No dark spots at all in it. The other is, like you can see, like out on this end, where the bark was missing and the sun was hitting it maybe and caused a little bit of checking, and then it looks like, worse than that, it looks like the somewhere either when they cut the tree or loading the tree, one of their grab hooks grabbed it right here and it really destroyed that, and I can't use that surface. So I'm going to have to go below that surface to use it, or flip over and come from this side. So I believe that's what I'm going to do. You could do either one, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to flip over and come from this side right here. Oh, got to change my shaving horse jaws. So if I look at it, I might be able to see where the low spot is, and it might be that ring right there. So I'll start out there first. Now, in this tangential plane, you've kind of color-coded. You can look and see, I mean, your draw knife will tell you also, but you can also look to the side and see if you're right in one growth ring, or you can look right here and see the colors. So, okay. So I'm in one color right here. So I've dug a little trough here, and I'm down to a late wood growth ring right here. And you'll see that there's an early wood ring ending right there, and the other continuation of it is right here, is ending. So I'm going to take this whole layer down to that one ring right there, that solid color. Now, you're only going to get a solid color if the growth rings are perpendicular to this plane right here, and that's not always going to be the case, and that's okay. If it's not perpendicular, you're going to end up with stripes down through there. You just want those stripes to run the whole length. You don't want any ring cutting across completely, right like that. You can also look from the side right here, and you can follow a growth ring. So if you look, right there is an early wood ring that I have my pencil in, and as I'm coming, see where it is right now, how much wood is up on top of that and how much I have to take down. So I want to come right down dead on that ring right there. And so as I cut, I'm going to be exposing that late wood ring and just backing up. You can hear it snapping with me here. That's because those layers are built up here, and it's because I'm going uphill, they'll snap with me. That's okay. It'll cut smooth just as soon as I get down to this layer that I'm after. Got that side, flip her over and get the other. And that should get the whole thing. So I can sight down it and follow those growth rings straight down. I can see that I'm one color all the way down. So now I'm ready to lay the back out on this side. So, like I said, this back is 59.5, and I've got a little bit extra here. So I'm just dividing the difference and putting it in the middle. On your back, you would want to get away from any problems or issues, which I typically would have too, but since this is the world's most perfect piece of wood, I don't have that problem. So this is going to come out right like that. That's the way it's going to come out of there. Okay, so there's the hand hold. need a combination square, I guess. So this is the plane that's 13/16. So now I've got to get rid of that waste, and before I had a bandsaw, I didn't have a bandsaw for 10 years, so before I had a bandsaw I used to just whittle it out with a drawknife, and that was efficient. And then sometimes I'd try to save that for spindles, so I'd saw in with a saw and then try to split that off, which worked if it worked, and if it didn't work I went down into my back and I lost it. Now that I have a bandsaw, I'll just saw that out, and then I can save my work for my spindles. Like I said, sawing is like the last resort for me, and this is the last resort, so I'll do it.